Hello, good day. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Mr. D, your success business coach and your entrepreneurship trainer, the author of the book, No More Excuses for Me, founder of the BNC International and the BNC TV. So today I'm here with one of the guys that is going to be a solution to almost all of you. Because we've been getting some emails and some WhatsApp messages, some SMS saying that what can we do with our businesses? Who should we contact as our lawyer? Should you go and register for lawyers or for legal matters or for a legal policy? What must we do as a small business? Well, all of your answers are going to be, all of your questions are going to be answered today. So stay tuned as we are going to introduce Mr. Fazloodien Abrahams. So welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Mr. D, for having me. It's a real honor to be on your show, and I'm looking forward to being of value to your listeners as well as your show. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So in brief, can you please tell us who is you? Who is you?
Sure.
Where are you coming from? And who is you? Yeah, can you tell us about that?
All right. So I'll touch briefly on my personal life, like family related and so forth. So I'm married. I've been married for a period of the close of 26 years. I have two children, a daughter and a son, a pigeon pair, and the daughter is close to 26 and my son is at least about 23. I have two grandchildren as well, a boy and a girl. So I've got my pigeon pair in my children, and I have my pigeon pair in grandchildren as well. I'm a businessman by passion, and I'm a lawyer by profession. And I'm basically just, here on this earth to serve a purpose. And that purpose is to be of value to society, to make a difference, to gather a lot of knowledge. And in the application of that knowledge, I want to impart on the wisdom to the communities that needs it. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's me in a nutshell.
So that's so inspiring. I loved it when you say that you are a business person by passion and a lawyer by profession.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've had an opportunity to expose myself to many different industries.
Okay. So a question here. Another question here that I'm just gonna give you.
Sure. Go for it.
Oh wow, that's so amazing! Great. Yeah. So what inspired you to start to do what you do, like being in law, running all these other businesses? So what inspired you?
I've been nurtured by my mother basically to be a businessman. For her, it was basically.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. But it appears there's a delay in the transfer of the audio.
Oh, yes, yeah. I can see a delay as well. On your site as well, it's telling me that your network also it's a bit low. Yeah, the bandwidth it's a bit low. But anyway, that's fine. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, yes.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so what inspired you to be who you are today? What inspired you?
So I think growing up on the Cape Flats, seeing the social ills that we have to experience on a day-to-day basis, our people out there, what I experienced as a youngster growing up, and the success of what I've made in operating various businesses. allows me to be passionate about being selfless and also wanting to give back to communities, you know. I think for me, if you want to, or if you refer to my legal practice or me as an attorney, it was for me an individual who started working with me as a real estate agent. He found himself in a very negative space. He was unable to face life and life terms, and I then had an idea of assisting him, and I asked him what would give you hope, what would give you courage to face life and life terms. And his reply to me was that he was very passionate about law. He had a friend who was an advocate, and they would discuss legal principles and cases on the weekend. And he enjoyed himself having those discussions. And I said, well, if that's going to help you face life and life terms, if that's going to give you hope in life again, then I would register myself and him for our studies at UNISA, and I would pay for it. And he agreed to it. That is how I became, how I decided to study law. My intention was to give another person hope. It was not to become an attorney.
Okay. Oh wow. So why must I, as a small business, have a lawyer? Or before we even go to that question, what other law services do you provide for your clients? What other services do you provide for your clients?
Right. Our law firm currently consists of 3 departments. One being that of an estates department, a conveyancing department, and a litigation department. The estates department provides services where we draft wills, we administer deceased estates. So we report the estate to the master's office and we finalize it, and we ensure that the heirs of the estate receive the inheritance. That is basically what administering an estate is all about. And then we also register trusts. So you have 2 different types of trusts. One is a mortis causa, which is a trust that is created out of a will, and the other is an inter vivos trust, and that is a trust that is created by someone who's alive, who is known as a founder. That founder then donates property to the trust, where that particular property, be it cash or immovable property that generates an income, would then be the benefit of that trust, and that proceeds would be used for the beneficiaries. That's the services that we provide in the estates department. The conveyancing department provides services of drafting lease agreements, the drafting of offer to purchase, and various other contractual documents related to property, immovable property specifically. And we also then attend to the transfer of the property. So if you buy a property from another person, you have to transfer that property via the deeds office using an attorney, a conveyancer particularly. And that is the service that we provide in the conveyancing department. Also, you will find that an individual would like to borrow money from the bank to purchase a property. That is what we call bond registration. And even though we are not on the banks at the moment, not on the banks panels at the moment, we can register a bond, which is a private bond. So you'll have one private individual who lends money to another, who borrows money to another, and that individual would then want to secure the loan agreement, and he would do so by registering a bond over the immovable property that the other person owns. And then our litigation department. Our litigation department provides services where we would attend to divorces. The other aspect is the evictions of property of individuals from a commercial unit or from a residential property. And then we have contractual disputes and drafting of documents for, let's say, for example, you need a cancellation agreement, or you need a loan agreement, or you need an employment contract that needs to be drafted for your business, or you need an agreement between 2 businesses where the one is borrowing money, or the one is gifting a property, and so forth. Or even the interpretation of an agreement where you are currently in an existing written agreement, but now there's a dispute, and that dispute needs to be resolved. And the only way to do that is firstly to interpret the agreement and possibly mediate the dispute between the two parties. Those type of services would fall within the litigation department. We also attend to motor vehicle accident claims, and we also provide legal advice on various other topics of law. So the legal profession has at least about 40 particular topics that one would need legal advice on. And that is
40.
Yeah, 40.
Wow.
So it's quite broad. It's quite broad, eh? It branches off from two particular fields, which is public law and private law. And that is where that's the two bases. And from there, the 40 branches, of different type of law. So being an attorney is quite a huge amount of information that one needs to have in order to give advice. So my advice to a small business owner is always, if you don't know what to do in a particular legal issue that you find yourself, is phone your attorney. If you are sick, you go to the doctor. If your car is sick, you go to the mechanic. With a legal issue, you need to phone the attorney. Make the consultation, schedule a consultation with the attorney. He will then charge you for 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour of consultation. And then from there, you will have much more information as to what to do with your legal dispute. And that will be the best thing to do.
The best thing to do. Yeah. So but before we even go there, why must I have an attorney as a small business? Do I really need one? Do I just need one, or I can approach you guys as I wish?
No, for us to pick up the phone, and before you start talking, we need to agree to a consultation fee. It's like, if you look at an attorney from a small business point of view, you are in the business of selling personal protective equipment. You are in the business of selling insurance policies, or you are in the business of selling real estate property. That's a business. That's your nature of business. And every particular business would be clever and wise to have an attorney on call. And today with COVID-19, how we do it, we don't usually take face-to-face consultations. We are able to redesign ourselves, and we are, as we're doing now, this interview is being done via electronic means.
Zoom.
We do a consultation via Zoom as well, and we do telephonic consultations as well. So it's important because you have your particular nature of business, but every business find themselves in a dispute, either between themselves and another business, or themselves and an employee.
An internal business, yes.
That's right. So there's always legal issues that one needs to, and usually a dispute arises or a legal issue arises where two people enter into an agreement, or they conduct themselves in a manner where they have not consulted an attorney. So in other words, if I can make an example of a motor vehicle, you require your motor vehicle to be serviced by a mechanic on a regular basis. What happens if you don't service your motor vehicle? It will break down. So similarly with an attorney, if you enter into an agreement, before you enter into an agreement with another person, make sure you consult the attorney. Make sure the contract, the terms that you enter into the agreement is legal, it's lawful, it's enforceable, and it's fair and reasonable. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is, at the end of the day, you find yourself in a dispute, and you find that the contract that was drafted by one person was biased. It was one-sided, and it was more in favor of the one party. And as a result of
Yes,
that
yeah.
contract, you find yourself in a legal dispute. And now you have to now pay an attorney to deal with that dispute, and it ends up being quite costly. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Wow. Like for example, with this COVID-19 things, we've been locked down for about 3 months now, right? And a lot of people, they are retrenching their people, which is unlawful, which is actually a dispute as well, right? And you also gonna see that so many people right now, they are losing contract. So many businesses, they're actually losing contract from other businesses, which is a dispute of, which is actually a law dispute, right? And so I can say, like for example, myself, have been making sure that I've got legal representatives and legal backup every time of my life. From my first business in the network marketing, from up to now, you know, I used to make sure that I've got lawyers aside of me, because you might not know, we sign a lot of documents. We sign a lot of documents, lease agreements, this and that, this and then later on you find out that no man, on this one I was ripped off, or there's something that I cannot. But guess what? You have signed already. You have signed already. And a lot of SMEs, they fall into trap and being charged more. Like if I can tell you, there's this other issue in Somerset West. So I was supposed to open a shop there. On the quotation, they quoted me 1 month rental and 1 month deposit, and I saved the 13,000. I used the other money to buy some raw materials, to buy some other goods for the shop instead of. And then the invoice came at 32,000, and I said, "What is happening? How can you double and or nearly to triple the amount that I was saving?" They said, "Just because." You're a foreigner, so we're gonna need to charge you 3 months deposit plus this and that charge. And I said, okay, I don't have choice, but I need this. But later on, I went back to them. I went to my lawyers and said, no, this is, I think there's something unfair. And then they had to return me that money because it was not what I signed for in the quotation, you know, something. So those are some of the things that we normally face. As SMEs. Or I found a contract somewhere and then it's one-sided, as you say, you know. Or my employees right now, they demand something, yet we're not working, we're doing this, and they demand, yet they still have got the other option again to go and claim some money from the UIF and sort of stuff. So those are some of the disputes, right? That an individual business really need a lawyer, because you guys understand all of the jargon of the lawyers. I understand the ways of making money. You understand the laws of you understand your own industry. I understand my hustling, but
we understand.
I don't understand.
Yeah. I think we understand how to take your money. You make the money, we take your money. Can you hear me?
Oh, so we make the money. Yeah, I can hear you. So we make the money and then you take the money. But you know, so the same thing again. It is the same thing like somebody that said, "Do I need an accountant in my business? Be it I'm still starting or what?" It's a need. It's the heart of the business. So you guys, lawyers, accountants, and you as the owner of the business, you are the heart of the business. If those people are not there, you are going to run a spaza. You are right. We are really going to run a spaza shop, something like that. You know, wow. Thank you so much for that. So what are other advice that you can give out to people that are watching? What are other advice that you can actually give to other people that are out there?
Sure. I think, as a businessman first and a lawyer second, I would give advice to any particular businessman is to
Yeah.
operate your business based on principle. Yeah. We deal with many people out there, and we deal with staff, and we find ourselves in spaces where we have to ask ourselves a question that, how do I want to make money? Do I want to make money by ripping people off, or do I want to make money by being fair,
Mm.
honest, reasonable, principled?
Yeah.
And that is, how do I deal with my staff? Do I deal with my
Mm.
staff on the basis that it's a win-win, or is it a one-sided, selfish relationship? For me, it's not. It's all about
Yeah.
building relationships, because when you build a business, you don't just build assets. You don't just build your bank balance. You build humans as
Yeah.
well. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
HR is all about. And previously, I've registered and I started doing my MBA this year, but because of COVID, I had to
Okay.
defer my MBA degree, and as a result, I still have the textbooks and the study guides and stuff. So I'm going through it still, and I'm reading it and I'm educating myself on it. And one of the
Yes.
modules is that of human resources development, where previously you'd have only human resources as a topic in business, but now it's taken a step further, because it's not just about managing your human resources, it's about developing your human resources as well. And for me, if I look back
Yes.
at the amount of staff, or the staff that I have at the moment, it's all staff that has been with me for years. I mean, sometimes they come and go because they find, or they believe that the
Mm.
grass is greener on the other side. They venture and they grow into something bigger than what they can be at the firm. And I'm happy for them. I welcome those type of growth, and for me, it's just, be human when you run a business. Don't be selfish. Don't be greedy. Don't be self-centered. Because if it's that,
Mm.
then you shouldn't be in business, because then greed creeps into place, and we don't need the world to be run by businessmen that's greedy and
Yeah.
self-centered and selfish. Yeah.
Mm.
And then obviously, well, from an administrative point of view, be responsible. Make sure that you have everything covered. Make sure that you have policies in place to deal with your HR. Make sure that you have an attorney on dial, that you could phone and pay him. I mean, everybody earns a living. Everybody has studied to be something. Everybody has a value to the services that they provide.
Mm.
And if you feel that, for example, for me, I have two companies, which is the law firm, and the other is an investment company or consulting firm. And if for
Mhm.
because of
Yeah.
legal conditions, I, through my consulting firm, would maybe agree with a SMME to run a retainer, and that retainer would maybe cost him 1,000 and a
Mm.
month, but the retainer would allow them to call me anytime during the month and have a telephonic conversation, which usually would cost him 450 and 15 minutes. So whether they have 5 or 6 calls for the month, it's based on a retainer of 1,000 rand. And you can call me and say, listen, I've got this legal dispute. What do you advise me to do? And I'll give you advice over the phone. So you would be
Yeah.
benefiting of 6 calls, which is 2,700 that you usually would have to pay me for consultation. You can pay me 1,000
Mm.
rand a month, and that gives you 6 telephonic conversations of 15 minutes each. And if
Yeah.
it comes to us having to provide you legal services, then we would do it through the law firm, and that is where you would pay
Yeah.
for legal services on our tariff or our mandate. And coming back to the advice of a small business operator is that make sure you have your departments in place. For example, your operations needs to be stable. Your HR department, I mean, that you can deal with on yourself between, especially if you have maybe 1 or 2 employees only, you can deal with that yourself. Your marketing, you need to be able to do marketing, because growth in a company can only take place by the company marketing themselves constantly, you know. And then also providing a good service. Service delivery is important. If you don't deliver service, you would end up losing clients. And then obviously your financial aspect. Make sure that your bookkeeping is in place. You mentioned accountants. Make sure that your bookkeeping is in place, and you deal with your accountant, and you comply with all SARS regulations. Now, all that having been said, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. I've done it over years, and I've burnt my fingers. I've paid the costs. I've done the homework, and you know what? It's still not perfect. I try my best. I do my best, but no one expected COVID-19 to happen, and now we're sitting with ourselves in a situation where we have to redesign ourselves. You know, I mean, business was not set up for COVID-19.
No. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah. So we have to literally redesign ourselves. You know, we have to redesign ourselves and ask ourselves. We have to adapt. We have to conform ourselves to a different new process, which is how are we running operations now? How are we marketing now? How are we dealing with our staff now? So all of that is something that's not in the books. Yeah.
And then also, but the other thing as well that you need to do, don't wait for the day you are going to burn your fingers, for the day you are going to fall down off the tree, right? Prepare now, because preparation is better. And also, as they say, prevention is cheaper than cure. Yes, you rather lose 1,000 rand every month than end up now losing 100,000 rand once off.
Indeed.
So of which we are just supposed to use like 12,000 rand a year, while you are preventing all those things. Wow, thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much. I hope you guys have also benefited quite a lot from this amazing saw that I've been sharing with us, a lot of things. So thank you so much for joining. But where can people get hold of you? Do you have a website, a link, an email that we can also put down on the comments as well, right? So I think you also gonna give me your email address, your things, your everything. So also people who are ready to get in touch with you, they can also contact you. So we are going to put it down there. Down in the description of today's interview. So thank you so much. I can't wait to be with you on the next day.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure meeting you, and it's a real honor being on your show. And I wish you all of the best. And I'm looking forward to interacting with your viewers so that we could be of service or value to them. Thank you very much.